mean, you know what gold is? Gold is proof of work. You had to dig the stuff out of the ground and then form it into a coin, and it's proof of work. But nowadays the Federal Reserve, their proof of work is pushing a button, creating money, buying bonds, and suppressing interest rates. And hopefully the banks, according to the Fed, actually lend that money out into the system. That's how money is created. But right now the banks don't even want to lend the money. So all the Fed is able to do is mess with interest rates.
Explore how gold offers timeless value, tangible evidence of work, and the Federal Reserve's modern method of creating money from thin air. Join us as Andy Schectman sheds light on this disparity, exposing the fragility of our financial system and the enduring worth of precious metals. So keep watching the full video till the end.
What concerns me more than anything is that this is becoming part and parcel of the daily fabric of our lives, where things that would have knocked you off your chair now are just, another one of these moments. And so, we'll go through and talk about a few of them. We can start with, some of the innocuous ones, such as yesterday, Monday, Labor Day. Wasn't Labor Day in China and Japan, obviously, but what it was in China and Japan, those being the second and third largest economies of the world, is that gold hit all-time highs in their respective currencies on Monday. It goes to show you the inordinate and perhaps unjustified strength of the U.S. dollar, which blurs the real value of gold and silver in just about every other currency. We talked last week about that chart, and I forgot the exact name of it, but the chart that shows gold valued in the top 20 economies of the world. Again, roaring to new highs. So it's the value of the dollar that is somewhat making gold's value opaque. You can't quite see it because you're measuring it against dollars, but the rest of the world sees it. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit about BRICS, and as it continues to, again, accentuate and grow, and every little day, little nuances. And, thinking about what BRICS is to me, it's a system that's based around regional relationships and maybe even military power. But the initial motivating factor against all of this is pushback against the Western nations, against the Western hegemony. And you're beginning to see it more and more and more, with really China forming these mutually beneficial alliances and acting as a partner rather than an adversary. And you see that no more clearly than it was just announced that Xi Jinping and the president of India, Modi, stepped aside at the meeting and promised to accelerate the peace plans, or the problems they have with Kashmir, and that they want to make this problem go away, to de-escalate the situation. And so when you're seeing these countries who have been at each other's throats for years and years and years and years, finding ways to work things out in a diplomatic way, a mutually beneficial way, is adding, I think, credibility to a group of countries that is being largely, I think, ignored by the mainstream here in this country. You look at something like Iran as an example. Within the span of 1 year, Iran, who supposedly is suffering under the Western sanctions, has been fully admitted into the BRICS nations, as we know, and also a full member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the largest financial and military organization on the planet. I do not think Iran will have problems sidestepping these sanctions in order to develop, in fact, certainly be incentivized to develop alternatives in trade with all of these other countries that they are now joined with. And you can see that, things are starting to change all over the place, not just with Iran. Look at Saudi Arabia. Their oil exports to us, done again, are at their lowest level in 6 years, as is their holdings of treasuries, which the kingdom has been selling their treasuries now, and it's at a 6-year low. So you have Saudi Arabia and China dumping bonds, in essence, while striking deals outside the dollar, which is huge. And when you talk about Saudi Arabia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates, you got your major oil producers. When you talk about Argentina, who was just admitted to the BRICS, you have a major agricultural producer, but I think what most people don't know is that they're also the largest natural gas producer in all of South America. You have Egypt, who controls the Suez Canal, which is a huge major shipping route, and then you have Ethiopia, which is the fastest growing country in all of Africa. Now, the majority of the African countries want to join BRICS, and I think you will see this more and more and more and more. In fact, a total of 23 countries have already formally submitted their applications for BRICS, the next BRICS meeting. That's one of the big pushbacks I get from people, at least the people who maybe even who are commentators in the space, YouTube commentators. Well, what about China and India? They don't like each other. And, well, you can see my enemy's enemy is my friend, the greater good. And, I think this is coming where you're going to see these countries reconcile, just like Iran and Saudi Arabia, like Iran and Iraq, like these countries that are putting aside their differences. Americans had over 2.1 trillion in excess savings thanks to all the stimulus that we were given, and current estimates put that at 190 billion rather. So I mean, it's getting the savings is getting obliterated with inflation as people are trying to keep their head above water, and at the same time we have the government getting deeper into debt and spending more while taxes are dropping. And, you're looking at a situation where they're spending so much money, the government is, that inflation is going to have to be at some point just understood that it is going to be the only path that they can take next to default. And as that happens, we have a very dangerous situation. Part of their ability that they've been able to do this is by attracting so much money into the overnight reverse repo market, which is paying about 5.3% backed by the Fed. But as the government continues to need to borrow money to finance because China and Saudi Arabia and Japan are selling bonds, who the hell is going to buy them? So what they have been doing is raising rates high enough, let's say close to 6%, to pull money or attract money out of the reverse repo market directly into the Treasury market, from big players going right to the Treasury, like treasurydirect.gov. And right now, it's the reverse repo market. Watch how fast it drains. When we get close to the end of it draining, and the Chinese and the Saudis and the Japanese and all these countries are not rushing to buy our treasuries anymore, things are going to get very interesting. And that's when we see more Federal Reserve monetizing, greater levels of inflation. So, look, put it all together, it's blurry, it's dizzying how many things we just talked about here in the span of 1 week. These are all the things that I've seen change in 1 week, and I'm missing a ton. We could talk for the next 3 hours about all the things that we see day by day by day, but if there hasn't ever been a ringing endorsement for gold and silver, not as an investment, but as wealth, I don't know if there ever has been. And I guess when it comes to the BRICS, people just need to stop being impatient. Do not fall into the instant gratification trap. See the big picture. See these pieces of the Jenga tower one by one everywhere you look coming out. Look at the linear decay. At some point, it falls off the cliff. Now, we're not there yet, but if by now you don't see this clearly, I think you're not looking at the right stuff. And you know what gold is? Gold is proof of work. You had to dig the stuff out of the ground and then form it into a coin, and it's proof of work. But nowadays the Federal Reserve, their proof of work is pushing a button, creating money, buying bonds, and suppressing interest rates, and hopefully the banks, according to the Fed, actually lend that money out into the system. That's how money is created. But right now the banks don't even want to lend the money. So all the Fed is able to do is mess with interest rates. If no one is lending, which is how money is created because it's too fragile out here, they'd rather get 5.3% and with safety in a reserve account at the Fed than lend it to you and I. Things are starting to really break. And as you see the cost of money and the ability to have it lent to you becoming much more expensive and much more difficult, the ramifications of the banks and all of the problems that have not gone away will only grow. So yeah, you're right. All they do by doing that, it's immoral. It is to create money out of thin air when everyone else has to work for it. And to hold a piece of gold or silver in your hand, is to show that someone somewhere worked to pull it out of the ground, and that is why it has real value, real wealth, and it's not immoral like a keystroke by a central banker who decides they want to affect monetary or fiscal policy.
As we conclude this insightful perspective from Andy Schectman, remember that in a world where money can be conjured with a keystroke, the enduring value of precious metals remains a testament to genuine labor. Keep these insights in mind as you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape. Thank you for joining us, and like this video, subscribe and press the bell icon to get more informative videos daily.